Federico Peña was born in 1947 in South Texas. He grew up in a small town called Brownsville. And although Latinos made up 90% of the population, there seemed to be a disparity in opportunity.
For so many years, I noticed that many of the business people and other leaders were not Latino, they were Anglos, and they kind of ran the city. There was still a form of discrimination back then. So for example, when we went to school, we were not allowed to speak any Spanish, even though Spanish was taught and spoken in our home. Our names were changed. So my name, Federico, became Fred. If you were Roberto, you became Bob. If you were Jose, you became Joe. And that was sort of understood. And I was raised in that environment. My parents were hardworking and they sacrificed everything for their 6 children. But there was always this understanding that, number one, we would do well in high school and in middle school in terms of good grades. And number two, that we would all go to college.
In high school, Federico is greatly influenced by Coach Gus Zavaleta, who taught him the importance of character and leaving it all on the field, principles that he lives by today.
To this day, many of the things that I learned from him, working hard, pushing yourself to extremes, physical and emotional extremes, understanding that a team has to play together to win, that hard work and hard sacrifice does pay off. Those kinds of fundamental principles I learned from my football coach.
With a new sense of encouragement, Federico applies and is accepted to the University of Texas.
The university was bigger than my hometown, and the minority population was less than 0.5%.
After graduation, Federico applies to the University of Texas School of Law, but the Dean of Admissions had concerns in accepting him.
But he was concerned that I wouldn't succeed and might not graduate and perhaps not pass the bar exam. But it was that kind of persistence that I learned from my parents, that belief in myself, that I knew I could do it if I was given the opportunity, which I'm sure is a feeling that's shared by so many Latinos around the country.
His persistence pays off. He graduates and passes the bar.
When I went to law school, my goal was to become a lawyer in Texas, working for a prominent law firm and making my family very proud of me.
But the civil rights movement of the 60s makes a profound impact on Federico. He becomes inspired by Latino activism, by Martin Luther King, and by the opposition to the Vietnam War.
And so when I graduated from law school, I became a civil rights lawyer.
Federico's first job was working for legal aid in El Paso, Texas.
In El Paso, even though it was largely Latino, there was still some discrimination back in those days. And so we were working with the Latino students at the university. I believe we brought housing discrimination cases. There may have been some police issues, but there were a number of class action, broad community cases that a number of us were involved in then. And it stirred up a lot of controversy. And I think the board of directors felt we should only be doing basic legal cases and not getting involved in the community and kicking up too much dust.
After only 10 months of fighting for the rights of people in El Paso, Federico is asked to leave. Federico moves to Denver and works as a civil rights lawyer. There, he helps draft and introduce the historical Colorado Bilingual Bicultural Education Law. It required schools to have bilingual classes and teachers. Federico is encouraged to enter politics. He runs for the state legislature, and he wins.
We fought the good fight, raised a lot of very important issues, but after 4 years I thought it was time to pass the torch. It was time for me to go back into my law practice with my brother, who was now practicing law. And another group of people came up to me and said, wait a minute, why are you going back to practice law? We think you should run for mayor of Denver. But I'll never forget the statement of a number of friends of mine who came to me and said, Federico, why are you running for mayor of Denver? Why don't you stay in the state legislature or do something else? Because Denver is not ready for a Hispanic mayor. And Denver back then was only 18% Latino. But if you looked at the voter registration list, only 9% of the registered voters were Latino. So I couldn't run as a Latino candidate. I had to run as an individual. who wanted to represent everybody in Denver.
Federico took up the challenge, campaigning hard. He rallied support around his campaign slogan, "Imagine a great city," a message that resonated hope and prosperity to everyone. And in 1981, Federico defies the odds and is elected the first Hispanic mayor of Denver. Over the next 8 years, he revitalizes Denver's economy. He is the driving force behind a new Denver airport, a convention center, performing arts center, and a library. He even brings the Colorado Rockies to Denver. All in all, he created a new era of economic growth with a very diverse team of individuals at his side.
I brought in all these young people and diverse individuals to be part of my administration. They've all gone on and become very successful. They've run for office themselves. They're running businesses, they're running foundations. They're prominent members of our community. And I'm very, very proud of the fact that we produced a whole new generation of leaders because we gave them an opportunity.
He had arguably one of those leap into the future 8 years where Denver went from a certain kind of level to the next level. Wherever Federico Peña goes, when he's passed, things are better, things are stronger, new innovations are in place. He's just that kind of person.
After 2 successful terms, Federico was ready to pass the torch and return to private practice.
I said, it's now time to pass the torch. The same attitude I had when I was in the legislature. I didn't believe that serving in public office was a lifetime endeavor. You served, you did what you could, but then you passed the torch to a new generation of leaders. I've always believed that.
In 1992, Bill Clinton was elected president, and Federico is asked to serve on his transition team in choosing the next Secretary of Transportation. He remembers receiving a phone call from Secretary of State Warren Christopher.
We have some good news and bad news. The good news is that the president really liked your report. You did a great job, you and your team. The bad news is the individuals we were thinking would become the next Secretary of Transportation haven't worked out. So we would like for you to become the Secretary of Transportation, and you need to be in Little Rock, Arkansas tomorrow morning.
Federico Peña served 4 years as Secretary of Transportation.
It was a full plate, worked very hard, traveled to over 25 countries around the world representing our country in many areas, and it was a wonderful experience. And I was going to retire as Secretary of Transportation after 4 years, and the night before President Clinton was going to announce his second cabinet, he called me at my house and said, "Federico, I need you again. I would like for you to be Secretary of Energy, and I need for you to be down at the White House tomorrow morning to be announced as Secretary of Energy." And it was deja vu all over again.
As Secretary of Energy, Federico's responsibilities include the safeguard of our nuclear weapons and negotiations on energy concerns with Russia.
The interesting thing about my political career is that in every instance, it was not my idea to serve. People have come to me. People came to me and said, "Run for the legislature," and I did. People came to me and said, "Run for mayor," and I did. People came to me and said, "Serve in the federal government as a cabinet member," and I did. And the moral for everybody is that if you work hard and you do what you're supposed to be doing and you commit everything you have into what you're doing at the moment, somebody's going to notice. What I'm most involved in now is developing Latino leaders. So 3 years ago, a group of Latino business people created the Latino Leadership Institute at the University of Denver. And we have a year-long program where young professionals, Latino professionals between the ages of 25 and 40, go through this many months of training with the idea that we're building a new leadership bench. Young Latinos and Latinas who become board members, who can run for office, who can be appointed to commissions by the governor or the mayor, or who can become part of civic society in Colorado, who can become the new power brokers, who become successful business people. And so that leadership development is something that I'm very much involved in now.
Federico's message of believing in yourself continues to be a beacon of hope and inspiration for young Latino leaders across the country.
So I ask that you believe in yourself, that you work hard, that you not let anybody tell you you can't do anything. and that you commit yourself to being successful at whatever you do. And don't be labeled. And don't let anybody tell you you can't succeed. But more importantly, when you take that path, and it's going to be hard work, remember where you came from. Bring others with you. Help pave the road so others can walk where you have walked, so it'll be easier for them. If we do all that, we as Latinos will make our country stronger and better in this century, because we have the numbers, we have the determination, and we certainly have the energy and the intellect and the capacity to do it.
On behalf of the Board of Directors and the staff of the United States Leadership Institute and the 35th National United States Hispanic Leadership Conference, we salute you.